I should tell you, before I go further, that I did not agree to help Rurik chase the hollow market because I trusted him yet. I agreed because whoever was stealing Housebane's craft was stealing from Priya's future as much as mine, and I have never once in my life let caution outweigh her. Trust, as it turned out, arrived later, and arrived the way most true things arrive with me. Through scent, not through anything either of us said out loud. The hollow market doesn't advertise itself with a sign. You find it the way Rurik found it 2 years ago, by following the wrong mist downhill. Down past the harbor spires where the lantern charms get older and dimmer, past the honest stalls selling honest cheap perfume, into a warren of glass-fronted alleys where the light goes thin and faintly green, oil lamps burning fuel that's been cut with something that makes the flame sputter wrong. He took me there on a night Isobel had no need of either of us, dressed down, my hair braided plain instead of pinned, and told me before we went a single step further to let him do the talking unless I smelled something worth stopping for.
You're the instrument here,
he said,
not the negotiator. Trust me on that part, at least.
Even wrong, even sick with whatever cut the lamp oil there, that market was not without its own terrible beauty. Vials stacked floor to ceiling in makeshift glass towers that caught the sickly light and threw it back gold and green at once. Vendors calling out feelings for sale the way honest stalls call out fruit. A whole economy of stolen wanting laid out under warped tarpaulin roofs. I felt it the way I feel every market. Hunger first, horror second. That order troubled me more than either feeling alone would have. Halfway through the second alley, I felt it. Not a scent, something older and blunter than scent, the specific prickle of being catalogued by someone who wasn't trying very hard to hide it. I touched Rurik's sleeve just once, and he'd already caught the same thing half a breath before I had, a lean figure in an unremarkable gray coat standing too still at the mouth of a side alley, watching us with the patient stillness of a man who does this for a living and isn't worried about being made. Guild plainclothes? Rurik murmured, barely moving his lips. Sigh! Crace. Ledger office keeps eyes down here. Doesn't mean they're watching us specifically. Keep walking like you belong. My pulse loud in my own ears, and the figure didn't follow, but I felt his attention on the back of my neck for a full block afterward, and I understood, with a cold little drop in my stomach, that the guild already knew this market existed and had simply decided, for reasons of its own, not to close it. Word knew a broker there, a thin, nervous woman named Koss who dealt mostly in cut courage draws and clearly owed him a debt from some previous version of the same investigation. She didn't want to talk in front of me until Rurik set 3 silver on her table and said my name meant nothing to her, only my nose did, and even then she only agreed to let me smell, not to say where her stock came from. I uncorked 4 bottles in a row, ordinary cheap stuff, cut and thin, until the 5th one hit me like walking into a wall I hadn't seen. Housebane's signature underneath it again, unmistakable, layered thicker than the kitchen girl's stall. But Joy Draw had been like whoever was skimming us had gotten bolder or hungrier in the week since. I saw my face change and went pale under her own lamplight. I don't ask where the good stock comes from, she said quick and low. Man who supplies it doesn't like questions, and I like my fingers where they are. Rurik pressed her, gently for him, and got exactly one more thread before she shut down entirely. The good stock, the pure stock, always arrived already stamped with a small mark she'd never been able to place, a ledger seal pressed into the wax instead of a merchant's usual maker stamp. She wouldn't draw it for us, she wouldn't say another word, but I'd seen enough guild wax seals in my life to know what she was describing wasn't a merchant's mark at all. We climbed back up out of the lower city in silence for a long stretch, close enough that our shoulders kept brushing on the narrow stair, and I found myself more aware of that contact than of the very real danger we'd just walked out of. A ledger seal, I said finally, on stolen goods. That's not a smuggler cutting corners. That's someone inside the guild itself. Ruurt didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice had gone careful in the particular way I was starting to recognize as him deciding how much to hand me.
I've had that same thought for over a year.
He said, Bad.
I just didn't have anyone whose nose I trusted enough to confirm it.
We'd stopped without quite meaning to, on a landing halfway up the cliff stair. The harbor spread out gold and quiet below us, and he was close enough that I could smell past the wood smoke and old courage straight down to the man underneath it. Warm skin, clean sweat from the climb, something entirely his own that had nothing to do with any bottle. I don't know which of us moved first. I know I wanted to badly enough that my own mark went warm against my wrist, a small distinct heat I'd never felt it produce before, and some old trained instinct in me recognized that heat half a second before I understood what it meant and stepped back like the stair had gone suddenly narrower than it was. Not yet, I said, more to myself than to him, and watched him take the refusal the way he seemed to take everything hard, cleanly, without argument, filing it away instead of pushing. They stopped by the back room before I finally let myself sleep, more out of habit than intention, and found Priya awake over the ledgers again, a habit I really was going to have to break her of eventually. She took one look at the state of my hair, my borrowed plain coat, the stair dust still on my boots, and set down her pen very deliberately. You went somewhere you're not going to tell me about, she said, not quite a question. No. I told her honestly that I'd gone looking for whoever was stealing our family's craft and putting it in bottles we never filled, and watched her face do something complicated, pride and fear arriving at the same time, the way they seem to for both of us whenever the other one takes a real risk. Take me next time, she said, and I told her absolutely not, and she rolled her eyes at me with exactly the particular teenage disgust that tells me she's heard that answer enough times to know it isn't final. It isn't. I just wasn't ready yet to admit that out loud. Dashiell was waiting at the distillery when I finally got home near dawn, pacing the front room in his rust-colored coat with the particular anxious energy he gets when a sale's gone sideways or a shipment's short.
Where in the guild's name have you been?
He said, not really a question, already reaching for the ledger books like he could solve whatever it was by counting harder. I told him a version of the truth, following up on a bad batch complaint, and watched something flicker behind his eyes that I filed away without naming yet. Quick and gone, the particular look of a man doing arithmetic he doesn't want anyone watching him do.
Bad batches happen. Wall.
He said, too fast. Don't go chasing them personally. That's what I'm for. I told him I'd chase whatever put House Vane's mark on stolen goods personally for as long as it took, and he didn't quite meet my eyes when he answered that, of course, whatever I needed. I lay awake a long time that night with my wrist pressed to the cool stone windowsill, waiting for the warmth the near kiss had put there to fade back to its ordinary quiet hum. It did fade eventually, but not all the way. And some part of me, lying there listening to my own pulse under that small stubborn heat, understood that I had already started something I did not know yet how to stop, and that whatever it cost me, it was already too late to choose not to find out. Part 4, tomorrow.